Padre Pio, he saw something that no one should ever witness. It was the morning of October 7th, 1952, at precisely 7 a.m. 7 angels descended before him in San Giovanni Rotondo, each carrying a different symbol, each on a specific mission. And what they revealed, it changed the lives forever of everyone who heard this story. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover why the number 7 is not a coincidence. Why November 7th at 7 a.m. opens an angelic portal that closes in just 7 days. And why Padre Pio said that those who ignore this moment miss the greatest opportunity for celestial protection of the entire year. Have you ever woken up at 7 a.m. feeling that something was different, as if the air was lighter, as if an invisible presence was watching over you with infinite tenderness? Padre Pio said, "It's not your imagination. It's the moment when guardian angels are closest to earth, when the veil between heaven and our world is at its thinnest, when a simple prayer carries the weight of 1,000 supplications. And on November 7th, this phenomenon, it multiplies sevenfold. Do you feel like your life is stuck, that doors are closed, that problems repeat themselves without solution, that you carry an invisible weight that you can never shake off?" Padre Pio saw hundreds of people like this. And he knew exactly what was missing. It wasn't more faith, it wasn't more prayer, it was divine timing. It was knowing the precise moment when heaven opens and the angels descend with their hands full of graces, ready to be distributed. This story begins on a chilly October morning in 1952. Padre Pio was 65 years old. His stigmata bled as always, his hands wrapped in brown wool gloves to conceal the wounds that never healed. He was alone in the small chapel of San Giovanni Rotondo, kneeling before the Blessed Sacrament, when at 7 a.m. the light shifted. It wasn't the light of the rising sun, it was something different, a golden luminosity that cast no shadows. That seemed to come from everywhere at once. Padre Pio didn't move. He knew what was happening. He had experienced it before, in moments of bilocation, on nights when he battled demons, on mornings when the scent of roses filled the air without explanation. But this time, it was different. This time, he wasn't alone. 7 presences materialized before him. 7 angels, each towering at least 20 feet tall, each radiant, each holding something in their hands. The first angel held a crown of radiant light, the second, a flaming sword, the third, an overflowing chalice, the fourth, a white cloak, the fifth, an open book, the sixth, a golden key, the seventh, a silver anchor, and each of them looked at Padre Pio with eyes that seemed to see through his soul, eyes that knew all his secrets, all his pains, all his deepest fears. And then, the first angel spoke. His voice was like a gentle brook flowing over ancient stones, like the wind whispering through ancient pines, like the distant chime of cathedral bells in an empty sanctuary. And he said, "Pio, son of Francis, servant of the servants of God. We are the 7 angels of presence, those who stand always before the throne of the Most High. We have been sent to reveal to you a secret that must be guarded until the right time. The right time has arrived." Padre Pio could barely breathe. He had seen angels before, but never like this. Never 7 at once, never with this solemnity, with this divine gravity that made the air feel heavy with holiness. And the angel continued, "On the 7th day of the 11th month, at 7 o'clock in the morning, heaven opens. For 7 full days, we descend with 7 specific graces, Each grace for an aspect of human life, each grace for a specific pain, each grace for a closed door that needs to open. The second angel stepped forward, and Padre Pio saw the flaming sword, pulsing with living light. And the angel said, "The first grace is protection against unseen evil. Those who call upon the angels at 7 a.m. on the 7th receive a spiritual shield that repels every demonic attack for 7 full days. No evil spirit can penetrate this shield, no curse can pierce it, no envy, no evil eye, no dark intention can touch those who are under the protection of the 7. The third angel approached, and the chalice in his hands shimmered as if it contained liquid stars. And he said, "The second grace is inner healing. Those old traumas you carry, those emotional wounds that never healed. That childhood pain you hide from everyone, but that consumes you from within, that resentment that has become a root of bitterness in your heart. We bring the heavenly balm that heals what is invisible, what no doctor can see, what no therapy can reach, but only at the right time, only when you ask at the moment when heaven is open." Padre Pio felt tears streaming down his face. He knew this pain. He saw it every day in confessions. People carrying decades-old traumas, wounded inside, pretending to be okay, smiling on the outside while crumbling in silence. And now he knew there was healing, there was hope, but there was timing. The fourth angel held the white cloak, and when he unfolded it, Padre Pio saw that it was embroidered with threads of pure light, and the angel said, "The third grace is reconciliation, that broken relationship that seems impossible to repair, that family member you haven't spoken to in years, that child who has strayed, that spouse who has become a stranger. We bring the grace of reconciliation, but it is not magic. It is divine intervention that softens hardened hearts, that opens eyes blinded by pride, that brings impossible conversations to the table. Those who ask for this grace on the 7th will see movement in the following 7 days." The fifth angel opened the book, and Padre Pio saw that the pages were blank. But as he watched, words began to appear, written in golden fire, and the angel said, "The fourth grace is divine guidance. You are lost. You don't know what decision to make. You look to the left and see danger. You look to the right and see uncertainty. You are paralyzed by the fear of choosing wrong. We bring the grace of direction. Those who call upon the angels on the 7th will receive supernatural clarity in the next 7 days, revealing dreams, impossible coincidences that are actually divine signs. Doors that open exactly at the right moment. You will know the way, because we will illuminate it for you." The sixth angel raised the golden key, and Padre Pio saw that it shone with an almost unbearable intensity, and the angel said, "The fifth grace is the opening of impossible doors, that job that seemed out of reach, that cure that the doctors said was impossible, that debt that you don't see how to pay, that situation that has been blocked for years without movement. We hold the keys that unlock doors no human force can breach, but these keys only work when you ask at the right moment, when the heavens align, when the 7 angels are present to hear your plea." The 7th angel held the silver anchor, and Padre Pio felt a profound peace emanate from it like invisible waves. And the angel spoke, his voice like the distant chime of cathedral bells. "The 6th grace is spiritual stability. You are weary of the ups and downs. One day, you feel God near. The next, He seems a million miles away. One day, you are overflowing with faith. The next, you doubt everything. We bring the anchor that secures your soul in the safe harbor of divine presence. Those who receive this grace in the 7 days of the angelic portal find a peace that isn't dependent on circumstances, a faith that doesn't waver with the storms, an inner certainty that no doubt can shake. And then, all 7 angels spoke together, and their voices intertwined in a supernatural harmony that made the chapel walls vibrate. And the 7th grace, Padre Pio, is the most precious. It is the grace of assurance of salvation, that fear that wakes you at 3 in the morning. Am I good enough? Does God really love me? Will I go to heaven when I die? We bring the certainty that dissolves all fear. This is not presumption. It is direct knowledge. It is the Holy Spirit bearing witness to your spirit that you are a child of God, that you are sealed, that you are safe in the arms of the Father. Padre Pio fell prostrate on the floor. He could not stand before this revelation. 7 graces, 7 angels, 7 days, and it all depended on a specific moment. Day 7, at 7 a.m., he knew what was being entrusted to him. It wasn't just information, it was responsibility. It was a message. He would have to safeguard until the right time, until people were ready to receive it, until the world desperately needed this portal of hope. But there's more. There's something. The angels showed Padre Pio that morning that he only told 3 people before he passed. Something about what happens when you miss this window, when you let day 7 pass without calling upon the angels, when you ignore the celestial call. The angels showed him visions of lives that could have been transformed, but weren't. People who spent the rest of their days carrying weights that could have been lifted in 7 days, doors that could have been opened but remained closed for years, reconciliations that could have happened but never did because the timing was lost. One of the angels said something Padre Pio never forgot. Human time and celestial time intersect at specific moments. These moments are few and precious. When they are ignored, heaven isn't offended, but the opportunity passes, and it may take years, sometimes a lifetime, for that window to open again. The 7th day of the 11th month at 7 a.m. is one of those intersections. It's not superstition, it's not numerology, it is divine geometry, it is the architecture of heaven. Padre Pio spent the following days in deep prayer, trying to process everything he had seen and heard. He knew he couldn't simply announce this to everyone. People weren't ready. They would ridicule him. They'd call him delusional. They'd say he was getting old and confused. So he began to share selectively with those he discerned to be truly open, truly desperate enough to try. The first person was a woman named Eleanor Rodriguez from Miami. She had come to San Giovanni Rotondo in absolute despair. Her 19-year-old son, Michael, had gotten involved with drugs and disappeared 3 months prior. The police had no leads. She had prayed every rosary imaginable, had done every novena, had visited every shrine. Nothing. Michael had simply evaporated, as if the earth had opened and swallowed her son. When Eleanor finally managed to confess to Padre Pio in November of 1952, she was on the verge of total collapse. Her eyes were caverns of despair. Her voice just a broken whisper, and when she finished telling her story, Padre Pio took her hands through the confessional grate and said something unexpected. "Eleanor, you have come at the right moment. Tomorrow is November 7th. At 7 a.m., you need to be in the chapel. You need to invoke the 7 angels of presence, and you need to specifically ask for the 5th grace, the opening of impossible doors. Your son is alive. He is trapped in a situation he cannot escape alone, but the angels can reach him where you cannot. Eleanor did exactly what Padre Pio instructed on the morning of the 7th at 7:30 a.m. She was kneeling in the chapel. She didn't know exactly what to say, so she simply repeated what Padre Pio had taught. 7 angels of divine presence, I invoke you at this sacred moment. I ask for the 5th grace, the opening of impossible doors. My son, Michael, is lost. And I don't know where he is, but you see everything. Please reach him where I cannot. Bring him back home. Open the door that is locked. Break the chains that bind him. She prayed for exactly 7 minutes, and when she finished, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. It wasn't empty optimism. It wasn't denial of reality. It was an inner, inexplicable certainty that something had been activated in the invisible world, that celestial gears had begun to turn, that angels had received their mission orders. 3 days later, November 10th, Eleanor received a phone call. It was from a hospital in Atlanta, 700 miles away. Michael had been admitted to the emergency room the night before, dehydrated and malnourished, but alive. He had managed to escape from the apartment where he was being held by drug dealers, had run through the streets until he collapsed in front of a church, and when he woke up in the hospital, the first thing he said was, "Mom, I dreamed about you. You were surrounded by light, and there were 7 tall figures behind you. They told me to run, told me exactly which street to follow, which door to knock on. I don't understand how, but I knew exactly what to do." When Eleanor returned to San Giovanni Rotondo to give thanks, Padre Pio just smiled and said, "You saw the power of the 7. Now you understand, it's not magic, it's angelic intervention at the right moment, and he made her promise that she would tell this story only when people were ready to hear it without scoffing. The second case happened in 1955. A man named David Miller, an engineer from Chicago, 52 years old, had just received the most devastating diagnosis possible: pancreatic cancer, advanced stage, 6 months to live, at most. He wasn't particularly religious. He'd go to Mass on Christmas and Easter because his wife insisted, but God seemed like a distant idea, something for priests and nuns, not for practical men like him. But when you're staring death in the face, when you feel your body failing, when you know you only have months to say goodbye to your children, even the most cynical person becomes desperate enough to try anything. His wife, Mary, had heard about Padre Pio. She begged Joseph to make the trip to San Giovanni Rotondo. He resisted for weeks, but finally gave in, not because he believed, but because he had nothing left to lose. When Joseph entered the confessional in November of 1955, he was prepared to be polite, but skeptical. But Padre Pio didn't let him speak. Before Joseph could even open his mouth, Padre Pio said, "Joseph, you don't believe in any of this. You think it's a circus, that it's the superstition of ignorant people. You only came to satisfy your wife, but you're afraid. You don't want to die. You have 3 young children, and you don't want to leave them fatherless." Joseph was paralyzed. How did Padre Pio know his name? How did he know about the 3 children? How did he know exactly what he was thinking? And Padre Pio continued, "You desire the 2nd grace, inner healing. But you need to understand something. Your cancer isn't just physical. You are sick inside, in ways that no surgeon can reach. You carry bitterness from your childhood. You've never forgiven your father for abandoning you. You build walls around your heart and call it strength. And those walls are killing you. From the inside out, Joseph felt tears streaming down his face uncontrollably. No one knew about his father. He never talked about it. He'd buried that pain for 40 years, had sworn never to let it affect his life. But Padre Pio was seeing through all the layers, all the masks, all the carefully constructed defenses. And then Padre Pio said, "Tomorrow is November 7th. At 7 a.m., you will invoke the 7 angels. You will ask for the second grace, but it's not just physical healing you'll ask for. You will ask them to heal the wound your father left. You will ask them to remove the bitterness that is poisoning your blood. And then you will see what happens in the next 7 days." Joseph did as Padre Pio instructed, more out of desperation than faith. On the morning of the 7th, at 7 a.m., he was in the chapel, feeling ridiculous, but trying anyway. He repeated the words, "7 angels of presence, I invoke you. I ask for the second grace, inner healing. Heal not only my body, but my soul. Remove the bitterness. Heal the wound of the 12-year-old boy who saw his father leave. And never return, please." For the next 3 days, nothing happened. Joseph was ready to go back to Milan and say he had tried, but it was all an illusion. But then, on the 4th night, November 10th, he had a dream. He was back in his childhood home. He was 12 years old again. He saw his father at the door, suitcase in hand, ready to leave. But this time, something was different. 7 luminous figures were surrounding his father. And one of them turned to the 12-year-old Joseph and said, "Your father was sick in ways he didn't understand. He didn't abandon you because you weren't enough. He fled because he was fleeing from himself. You can release this now. You can let the wounded boy rest." Joseph woke up crying, in a way he hadn't cried since childhood. But these were tears of release, not of pain. Something had broken inside him, something that had been fossilized for decades. And for the first time in 40 years, he felt lightness. He felt forgiveness, not for his father, for himself. 2 weeks later, Joseph went back to Milan to have new tests done. His oncologist ordered the tests 3 times because he couldn't believe the results. The tumor had shrunk by 60%. He wasn't cured, but it was stabilized, contained, no longer growing uncontrollably. The doctor had no explanation. Joseph lived for another 23 years. He died in 1978 at the age of 75 of old age, not cancer, and until the end of his life, he would tell anyone who would listen, "The angels healed me, from the inside first, and then the body followed." But here's the part that most people don't understand. Padre Pio warned Joseph about something critical. He said, "The 7 graces are not automatic. They are not magic. You invoke the angels on day 7, but you need to cooperate in the following 7 days. The second grace of inner healing doesn't mean you wake up on day 8 completely healed. It means that in the next 7 days, you will find opportunities for forgiveness. Memories will surface. You will dream things you forgot. Difficult conversations will happen, and you need to say yes to each of these opportunities. The angels open the doors, but you need to walk through. This is crucial. Many people invoke the angels on day 7 and then sit around, waiting for something magical to happen while they sleep. It doesn't work like that. The angelic portal opens for 7 days, but those 7 days are for active cooperation, not passive waiting. The angels bring the opportunities. You need to recognize and seize each one. The third case was different. It was about the third grace, reconciliation. A woman named Francesca Lombardi from Rome. 1959, she and her sister Eleanor hadn't spoken in 12 years. It had started with a fight over inheritance. After their mother died, terrible words were said, words that can't be unsaid, accusations that cut deep and leave permanent scars. And then, silence. 12 years of silence. 12 years of holidays without her sister. 12 years of nephews and nieces growing up without knowing their aunt. 12 years of pride, hardened like concrete. Francesca was dying inside. She thought about Eleanor every day. She rehearsed imaginary conversations where they reconciled, but every time she picked up the phone, pride stopped her. Every time she thought about writing a letter, the voice in her head said, "She's the one who started it. She has to apologize first." And then another year would pass, and the distance grew greater, and reconciliation seemed more and more impossible. When Francesca arrived at San Giovanni Rotondo in November of 1959, she was broken. Padre Pio heard the whole story and then said something she didn't expect. "You are waiting for Eleanor to come to you. Eleanor is waiting for you to come to her. You are both walled in by pride, and you will both die without speaking to each other unless something breaks this impasse. Tomorrow is November 7th. You will invoke the 7 angels. You will ask for the third grace, reconciliation. And in the next 7 days, you need to be attentive, because the angels will create an opportunity. But if you let pride stop you again, this opportunity will slip through your fingers and might never come back around." Francesca invoked the angels on the morning of November 7th. She pleaded for the third grace, tears streaming down her face. For the first 2 days, nothing happened. But on the third day, November 9th, something strange occurred. Francesca was walking through the market in Rome when she saw a woman from behind. For a split second, she swore she was Elena. It wasn't. But seeing that woman triggered a flood of memories. She and Elena as children, sharing secrets late at night, laughing until their stomachs hurt, promising to be friends forever. On the 4th day, Francesca stumbled upon an old photo of their mother. It was in a box she hadn't opened in years. And in the photo, their mother had her arms around both daughters, smiling. On the back, in shaky handwriting, her mother had written, "My 2 girls, my greatest treasure. Please, always love each other." On the 5th day, Francesca's son, who was 8 years old, asked out of the blue, "Mom, why don't I know my Aunt Elena?" "My teacher said everyone should know their family." Francesca didn't know what to say. She stammered something about Auntie being busy. But the question stayed with her all day, burning like a hot coal. On the 6th day, Francesca woke up with a clear and impossible to ignore thought: if you don't call today, you will lose the chance. She didn't know where that thought came from. It wasn't her voice. It was something external, something urgent, something that carried the weight of heavenly authority. And then, before fear could stop her, before pride could build more walls, she picked up the phone and dialed the number that she had memorized 12 years ago but had never used. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times. Francesca was about to hang up when someone answered. It was Elena. And Elena's first words were, "Francesca, I was literally holding the phone, about to call you. For the past 3 days, I've had this urgent feeling that I need to call you before it's too late. I don't understand what's happening, But I feel that if I don't call today, some door is going to close forever." The two sisters were silent for a moment, processing the impossible, and then both began to speak at the same time, words pouring out in a torrent, apologies, tears, promises to never again let pride destroy their love. They met the next day, the 13th, the 7th day since the invocation of the angels, and when they hugged, Francesca felt something break in the spiritual world, as if invisible chains had been cut, as if a generational curse of pride and silence had finally been broken. Padre Pio told Francesca later, "The angels didn't force you to call. They didn't force Elena to be ready to answer. What they did do was create a divine synchronicity. They touched both of your hearts at the same time. They created the urgency that overcame pride. But you both had to choose to say yes, and that is always how it works. The angels bring the opportunity. We choose to walk through the door. Now, let me tell you something that may be the most important part of all of this. Padre Pio was very specific about the protocol. It's not complicated, but every detail matters because it's not an empty ritual. Each element has a precise spiritual purpose. First, it has to be on November 7th, not the 6th, not the 8th. November 7th specifically. Padre Pio explained that divine numerology is not superstition, it is celestial geometry. 7 is the number of God's completeness, the number of complete creation, 7 days of creation, 7 seals of the apocalypse, 7 angels of presence. When you invoke the 7 angels on the 7th day, you are creating a spiritual resonance that aligns earth with heaven. Second, it has to be at 7 a.m., not 6:59, not 7:15, exactly 7. Padre Pio said that there are specific windows of time when the intersection between our world and the spiritual world is most open. The dawn is one of them. But specifically at 7 a.m., there is a convergence of celestial time and human time. It's when the angels are closest, when the veil is thinnest, when your prayers can pass through most easily. Third, you need to invoke the 7 angels by name. But here's the problem. The Catholic tradition has never revealed the names of the 7 angels of presence completely. We know Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, but the other 4. Padre Pio said it doesn't matter. What matters is the intention. You say, 7 angels of divine presence, you who are always before the throne of the Most High, I invoke you at this sacred moment. And they hear, they know who you are calling. Fourth, you need to ask for one specific grace, not 7. Many people make this mistake. They invoke the angels and ask for all 7 graces at once. It doesn't work like that. Padre Pio was clear. You choose one of the 7 graces that you most need in this moment of your life. You focus all your intention, all your faith, all your desperation on that specific grace: protection against evil, inner healing, reconciliation, divine guidance, opening of impossible doors, spiritual stability, assurance of salvation. Choose one. Ask with everything you have. Fifth, you need to do it kneeling, not sitting comfortably, not lying in bed. Kneeling. It's a posture of humility, of recognition that you are before celestial beings that exist in a dimension of holiness that you can barely imagine. Kneel, even if your legs hurt, even if you have knee problems. Make the physical sacrifice. That demonstrates the seriousness of your request. Sixth, it lasts exactly 7 minutes. You invoke the angels, you ask for your specific grace, and then you remain in silence for 7 minutes. Don't pray for more things. Don't keep chattering. Receptive silence. It is in this silence that the angels work, that they touch your spirit, that they begin to activate the grace that you asked for. Seventh, for the next 7 days, you need to be in a state of spiritual awareness. The angels will communicate through dreams, through impossible coincidences, through people crossing your path at the right time, through unexpected opportunities. You need to recognize these signs. You need to cooperate. When a door opens, walk through it. When an opportunity for forgiveness appears, grab it. When a direction becomes clear, follow it. If you are listening to this now, it's no coincidence. Padre Pio said that this message would only reach people at the right time. You are here because tomorrow or soon, it will be November 7th, you are here because you need one of the 7 graces desperately. You know which one it is. You may be trying to pretend you don't, but deep down in your heart, you know exactly which of the 7 graces you need. Do you need protection because you feel you're under spiritual attack and you don't know how to defend yourself? Do you need inner healing because you carry traumas that no one sees, but that consume you every single day? Do you need reconciliation because there's a broken relationship that's destroying you from the inside out? Do you need divine guidance because you are completely lost and you don't know which path to take? Do you need impossible doors opened because your life is blocked and you see no way out? Do you need spiritual stability because you're tired of the ups and downs and you want a faith that doesn't waver? Do you need assurance of salvation because you're afraid of what happens after death? Choose one, just one, the one that burns most fiercely in your heart at this very moment. And if you're wondering if this really works, let me remind you. Sarah got her son back. Joseph lived another 23 years when he was only given 6 months. Eleanor recovered her sister after 12 years of silence. This wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was angelic intervention at the right time, activated by people who were desperate enough to try, humble enough to kneel, focused enough to ask for a specific grace, and attentive enough to cooperate in the 7 days that followed. Maybe you're still skeptical. Maybe you think it's too good to be true. Padre Pio would understand. He also dealt with skeptics, but he always said the same thing. If you don't believe, don't do it. But if there's even a spark of hope, if there's even a whisper of faith, if you're desperate enough to at least try, then try it. What do you have to lose? 7 minutes of your time. Is it worth the risk of discovering that it's real? Here's something that few people know. In his final years, Padre Pio became increasingly urgent about this message. He knew he was dying. He knew he wouldn't have much more time, and he started telling more people, not just the special cases, but anyone who came to him with an open heart. He would say, "The world is getting darker. People are getting more lost. They need to know that the angels are waiting to help. They just need to know the right time to ask." In September of 1968, 2 months before he died, Padre Pio had a final vision of the 7 angels. They came to him in his cell, where he was weak, bleeding, near the end, and they said, "Pio, your work is finished. You guarded the secret faithfully. You shared it with those who were ready. Now it's time to depart. But the message will continue. In the difficult times to come, more people will need to know about the 7th day, and they will discover it because we will guide them, just as we guided you." The day Padre Pio died on September 23rd, 1968, but before he died, he made a final request to the friars who cared for him. He said, "Please, never let people forget. The 7th day at 7 a.m. is real. The seven angels are real. The seven graces are real. And anyone who invokes them with true faith will receive. And now, now you have the information that Sarah had, that Joseph had, that Eleanor had. Tomorrow, or whenever the next November 7th arrives, you have a choice. You can ignore this and go back to your normal life, carrying the same weights, facing the same closed doors, fighting the same battles. Or you can try. You can wake up at 7 a.m. You can kneel. You can invoke the seven angels of presence. You can ask for the grace that you need the most, and you can spend the next 7 days attentive, cooperating, walking through the doors that they open. The choice is yours. But know this, the angels are waiting. They are always waiting, waiting for the moment when you finally cry out, finally recognize that you need heavenly help because human problems have surpassed your human strength. And when you ask at the right moment, on the right day, at the right hour, with the right posture, with the right intention, they answer. They always have. They always will. 7 angels, 7 graces, 7 days. And it all starts with a moment of humility at 7 a.m. on November 7th. Don't let it pass you by. Because as Padre Pio said, when the angelic portal closes, it can take a lifetime to open again. But when it's open, when the angels are waiting, when heaven is aligned, then everything becomes possible, even the impossible. May the 7 angels of divine presence bless you, protect you, heal you, reconcile you, guide you, open impossible doors for you, and give you the peace that surpasses all understanding. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.